what lurks behind this unassuming storefronts in Cleveland, Ohio. It's the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. Learn the history of Wicca and the tale of those who brought it to the United States. See the tools of magic, once used by practitioners of the arcane arts. It's the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic.
Welcome to the Buckland Museum Frankenstein Control Room, broadcasting out of a hot air balloon floating over Lake Erie near Cleveland, Ohio. It's been a few days since we did this because, the gift shop's been open. The museum's opening on Wednesday. But really, the first thing I want to address is the idea that Black Lives Matter. I just want everyone to know that we at the Buckland Museum stand with everyone actively working to create positive change in our society. We are witches with a capital W. And as a witch museum, we are firm believers in the First Amendment, and the right of protesters is as important as our right to exist. Black Lives Matter. We condemn the very notion of white supremacy and the brutalization of Black people and people of color, and the right to protest is anything but sacred. I mean, it is really, to me, the most important thing about what we have going on here. So yes, that's our stance on that. We are here deep in the middle of COVID country, much like Lovecraft country. It is a deeply unfathomable shadow that creeps on us continually. Unknowable horrors await us all. That being said, we will reopen our tours on Wednesday at 12 p.m. We'd asked our local authorities if it was okay for us to open in May. They had no problem with it. A week later, sent us a letter telling us to stop. So we did. Tours are by online ticketing only, and they go every hour and a half. So there's plenty of time to see our treasures as well as enjoy our gift shop. 6 people at a time. Masks are mandatory. If you cannot wear a mask, I ask you to wait until we no longer require them. Or maybe just send me an email. Maybe we can work out some kind of online tour. Don't wear your mask like this. Don't wear it like this. Don't wear it like this. Come on. I am the only person working here. If I get it, it's over. We close, perhaps forever. Please respect me, the collection, and all our guests. If you don't want to wear a mask here, I get it, but it is the best way to stop this thing. So from me to you, you to me. So let's just nip it at the bud. Anyway, we're so very excited to speak with Simon Costin from the Museum of Witchcraft in Boscastle, England. The Museum of Witchcraft was founded by Cecil Williamson in 1951, so they're prepping for its 70th anniversary next year. Welcome aboard the Starship Buckland, Simon. How's it going?
Great. Weird, but great. Thank you.
Is that weird with a Y or just weird?
Whichever weird you want. It's weird.
All right. That's cool. So I'm really excited to have you here. You're one of my, you're somebody that I quite admire. I mean, you operate pretty much the world-class #1 premier witchcraft museum in the world. How does that feel like? Do you wake up every morning just being like, how did I do this? This is fantastic.
It's quite a responsibility, to be honest. Yeah, it's fantastic. It feels like my entire life has been leading towards this sort of moment. So yeah, it's great. It's great. I never forget what the responsibility is.
I understand that too. It's like I look back on my long life that I've had behind me, and it's like, oh, it's all leading up to this, isn't it? Fantastic. I kind of felt that we would be kindred spirits in a lot of ways, because it takes a certain type of person to be like, all right, we can make a go of this. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, the difference is that stepped into the shoes of Graham King, who'd already been running the museum for 17 years, and prior to him was Cecil Williamson.
Right.
So the museum's incredibly well established, and as you mentioned, the anniversary next year, it's 70 years since the doors first opened on the Isle of Man. So it has a very rich history.
So when did you first step inside the museum?
Okay, so it was 2005, the year after the floods, because I'd always wanted to visit the museum, but I don't drive, and the museum is in a pretty secluded area of North Cornwall. And if you don't drive, it's quite hard to get to. You can get a train, and then you have to get a cab, and it's in this kind of liminal space where the river, the Valancy River, flows into the sea. So it's quite special. And back in those days, your mobile, as you drove into the valley, would just die. So you didn't have any communication with the outside world, which was wonderful. But they've now built a receiving station on the top there, so they're fine. But I first visited after the floods.
Okay. And you came in and you're like, wow, this is cool. And then how did you get involved with it?
Well, I'd known about the museum for a long time, obviously. But when I came home that night and saw on the news the awful, terrible floods that happened in 2004, when there was an enormous storm just in this particular area, it was very localized. And this massive flash flood hit the village and devastated it, basically. So luckily, the previous director, Graham, was a Coast Guard. And he could see what was going on and sense what was going on. He could see the river breaching its banks. And so they had around 2 hours to get everything out of the ground floor cabinets and get it all upstairs. And he alerted the Coast Guard. And it's really down to Graham that there was nobody killed during that time. And I saw this on the news and I was like, oh, it's gone, it's probably been destroyed. And of course it hadn't been. And I kept ringing the museum, but all the lines were down because I wanted to help somehow. I didn't know how exactly. And then a friend of mine was decommissioning all these beautiful old Victorian display cases from the Natural History Museum. And when eventually I got hold of Graham, I kind of acted as a go-between between the museum and Graham and oversaw these cases being installed and delivered. And then Graham and I became friends, and whenever I wanted to visit, he would come and pick me up from the station. So all of a sudden it became easier. And that's how it started.
Oh, very cool. So how long have you been the head witch in charge?
Since 2013.
Okay.
So Graham, I realize now, was grooming me for quite some years prior to that. He would kind of sidle over with an ancient tome and say, "What do you make of that sort of etching?" And he was sounding me out because I imagine my day job. I'm a set designer, and I did work predominantly within the fashion industry. So I think he couldn't quite reconcile my deep interest in the occult and working in the fashion industry, because they don't quite go together in one way. I know.
I would kind of argue that, it's I don't know any witches or occultists that don't have some kind of flair about them. So
we're all quite stylish people, I think, for the most part.
I would think so. I think that's neat. It's I like the whole set direction thing because, I sit there and being a museum of essentially like me and like my partner Tony and my wife Jillian, it's pretty much just, hey, we got to wing it. Let's put up a display, So I imagine that your past history really helps with like the aesthetics of the museum. So there's one thing I wanted to show you here. Oops, I didn't prep this right. Give me just a second, sir. Okay. Oh, I'll find that later. But
What was it?
well, it had something to tie in with this because I thought, well, Simon here, King of the Witches. And
Oh,
then
sorry.
we have Simon here. But there is something else I wanted to show you here. To stay for good. Go. So you're working on a zine right now. Can you kind of tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, obviously, when we found out we couldn't really open, we rely on the door takings as our main source of income. So I, together with Fergus and the rest of the crew, we were all trying to brainstorm as to how we could get some money coming in. And we have a huge collection here of zines from the 1970s, 80s, 90s. And they're really inspiring. They're sort of before computers. So it's how the sort of the occult pagan community kept in contact and shared knowledge.
Yeah.
In the back of these zines, you'd have all these little contact details and, want to join a coven, call here or write to this address, and they're fascinating. And I thought, well, we've never done a zine. We have a kind of academic journal called The Inquiring Eye, but it's very much
copies of last year. Thank you very much.
Oh, good. You got those. Good. Yeah, they're kind of essays and quite in-depth. It allows people to go in-depth into a particular subject. But I wanted to do a zine that was much more visual and kind of gave you an insight into where the museum is, where it's positioned, because where it's positioned is really important in this kind of space in the harbour, the old harbour, going out to the sea. So it will give you an insight into the collection, the history of the place, where we are. Each month I'm going to take a reading of the star systems, the constellations above the museum, and do a piece about that. So it's sort of as above, so below, and yeah. So and we're about to launch that in about 3 weeks' time.
Excellent. Well, I plan on buying a few copies, A, to support you guys, and B, because I really want to check it out. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm really sad to know that you're not going to be opening up this year. It's heartbreaking. It's been difficult for us not to be open for the last 3 months. So I can't even imagine what a whole year without visitors would be like.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of people think that, being a museum, automatically get all this magical funding from people to, oh, you're a museum. Wow, you must be set. But I think you and I both understand that it's a grind continually. There is just so much that goes with it. Most of all, insurance, because these are pieces that you need to keep safe. Just everything about it is pretty much just you writing a check all day long. So yeah, I get it, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here to kind of talk about the zine and the fundraising that you're doing. Here, we're going to be reopening for tours on Wednesday. I kind of consider this year lost, but we're going to. I can't just be like, no, I give up. We're just going to close the shop, and I'm going to go do this now. It's I find it my charge to be able to try to focus and continue on. So we should talk about. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you there. I am sorry. So you guys, I look at what you guys there, and I am always so impressed. And there was a classic piece of taxidermy that you had. And when I saw this show up on eBay a couple years ago, I was said to my wife, Jillian, and my partner, Tony, I said, come on, Boscastle has one, shouldn't we? And they were like, all right.
Absolutely.
So his name is Ginger, because there's a little bit of ginger in the beard there. And that's the name of my favorite, or Goya makes my favorite ginger beer. And Goya, of course, made that wonderful painting, The Witch's Sabbath. So it all kind of goes along that line. So I just want you to know that Old Horny, as you like to call him, has a cousin here in the United States.
He's had a makeover since that picture was taken.
I imagine that he's had a few, right? Because sometimes he's like Baphomet, like sometimes he's just
he's now standing upright. He's no longer sitting because he was sitting in this chair.
Very chair.
In this very.
So, are you in the library right now?
Yes, I'm in the library. I'm surrounded by all the books.
Oh wow! So, do you have a copy of Ray's book, The Complete Book of Witchcraft, in the library?
We do. Yeah. We do.
Awesome. Excellent. Because otherwise, I'd have to send one over for you. So, you had told me once that you were in correspondence with Ray before he passed, correct?
Before the end of his life, yeah. We were emailing because I wanted to have him represented in some way, because the museum's very object-led. And if we don't have an object related to whoever it might be, it's hard to build a story up around them. And you can have photographs and things, but it's not the same as something, the potency of having an object.
Yeah.
So we were discussing what he might be able to send us, and then sadly he passed away. So, what have you got?
Well, Tony and I, we talk about this a lot because we want it to be something perfect, And one day we hope to go over there and present it ourselves. So that's kind of what the plan was. And we'd actually talked about going and visiting this year, but unfortunately COVID had other plans for the world.
Yeah,
so
certainly did.
Maybe next year.
Well, that'd be great. Yeah, we can put you up at the riverside. They do a great breakfast. You can go swimming if it's in the summer. Perfect.
That sounds fantastic. So, what's your favorite piece in the museum, Simon? Is there a piece that just gives you chills?
So
I've noticed on your Instagram that you've been spending some time in the archives lately. And I have to say that is the funnest thing, because you never know what you're going to uncover there. Because after years and years of taking things and shoving them in something, and then that thing getting shoved in something else, you'll open a binder that you're convinced is filled with one thing, and you're going to find all sorts of other treasures, right? Yeah. So, what's the thing that you've unearthed lately?
The thing with us is that because the museum has been running for so long, things come to light all of a sudden. Like last year, we were contacted by the team who were going through the Lenkovich archive. Lenkovich was a sort of an occultist. He had the most incredible personal occult library, and we have several of his paintings. And they rang up and said, it was due to a friend of the museum contacting them and said, we've got all these old scrapbooks, and they were Cecil's. Do you want them? And they were like, yes. And I've got one of them here. They're these, and they're quite large format, but this one in particular is full of the most, I will hold it up, incredible news cuttings, and also things like early posters from the museum when it was in, this one's when it was in Windsor. Can you see that? Where am I?
There we go. Oh yeah, that is amazing.
It's got stuff like that. It's got his original letterheads with his little sketches that he did of the sigil. Where is it?
Other way. There we go. Yeah. Oh wow.
That's his letterhead, the original letterhead.
Oh wow.
And these fun things like this, it's the menu cards from the old Witchcraft Museum when it was in the Isle of Man.
Oh wow, very cool. I have we have some letters from Monique with that letterhead up there.
Oh really? Yeah. Well, she took over the museum after Cecil brought the collection to the mainland.
Yes. So Ray had visited the museum, I think it was in '64. Mm-hmm. And I sent you some photos of that, right?
Yeah.
That he had taken during that trip. So
Yeah.
The photos are very confusing to me. I'm never quite sure what's going on in them. Like,
it's hard to work them out. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't know. I think they're pretty incredible too. It's we have a great picture of Rosemary Buckland, Lady Rowan, Ray's witch queen at the time, his wife, and she's on a broom. She's wearing a hat. It's very very cute.
Oh, send me a picture. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I'll definitely send that over. So we have some comments from our audience. Patty says hello. Hi, Patty. Rick says hi, Steve from Florida. Hi, Rick. Let's see. Stephen Romano says hello. If you're not familiar with Stephen Romano, he's an art dealer out of New York City. And if you visit New York City anytime soon, you should go to his apartment and check out his collection. It is. We did a live stream from there recently, and it is completely off the hook. Michael Williams says, "Infernal blessings." All right, Michael, thank you very much. Rick says, "You have such great guests. I've watched videos of his museum for years. I have as well." I really love the interview that you're done with Maxine Sanders maybe 2 years ago, and this was around the time of his helmet donation, right?
Yeah.
What did that feel like getting that?
The helmet was donated years and years ago.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. That came in with because we have a very large collection of Alexandrian material. Including things like this huge copper disc that Alex used to sit on and commune with the spirits. And there's a lot. There's a lot of correspondence as well with him and different people.
Yeah, I did find some correspondence on your database, and I gotta thank you for that. That's a really great resource tool. Is your database of documents on your website?
Yeah.
And I don't know, how long has that been going on? The last couple of years?
It's ongoing because it's so huge. We've got a fraction of it online at the moment. We just need to keep. But we don't have any public funding.
Right.
We don't have, it's a small staff, and so the archiving of stuff and putting it online goes on the back burner when it's you're just trying to keep the museum running. So that's kind of a luxury. And next year we're hoping to set up an internship for people to be able to come that we will select who have specific skill sets to come in and work in the archive to get more online.
This year we had an intern come from there's a really great library science school about 45 minutes from us. Yeah. And this individual came in last summer and they were like, "I love witchcraft, and I'm working as be a digital archivist. May I help?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, maybe." And then they kept emailing. So I said, "All right, this is the one." And they helped quite a bit, scan most of the letters, the documents, and hopefully next year, with our next intern, we can find somebody to actually help create the database. So it's, with funding it yourself, it's really not easy to get projects like that off the ground. So Glenn says, "A visit to both your museums is at the top of my Buckland." I almost said Buckland list, but bucket list. Awesome. Well, we hope to have you here sometime then. So Tony here, who I mentioned earlier, is our partner in the museum. He's the owner of the artifact. And she says, "Yes, we will definitely be bringing something over to you from Ray." So,
great, fantastic.
Tony says hello. It's let's face it, it's a very small community of people that operate this sort of thing. So what was that, Simon?
That's what makes it special.
So, any weird things ever happened to you at the museum there? Is it?
How long have you got?
Everyone's obsessed with like paranormal activity. What about you guys? Do you have any particularly haunted objects?
when I used to come and stay at the museum, there's an upstairs flat, you see, above the museum that is in the roof section. It's a really nice flat, but the bed is in above where the curses are, most of the poppets in the curse section, and they can be quite noisy at night. Yeah. And Graham had all these mirrors that were turned upside down to keep all that stuff down there. They have quietened down, but Cecil does come and visit every so often. There'll be footsteps, or the door will open, or you smell this particular aftershave that's like very 1970s called Old Spice. I don't know if you remember, but
yeah.
Yeah. Cecil's popped in for a check-up on what we're doing. But it's all very benign.
That is so cool. I gotta say that I recently read Cecil's the book.
Yeah.
And just what a fascinating individual. It's like was completely driven for this, you know. And did you get a chance to meet him?
I didn't, sadly. Yeah, he died before I got the chance. Because Graham took over he bought the museum in 1996.
Okay. And Cecil died, what, 99?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yes, was 99.
Yeah, it's I always laugh because it's the two of them, Gardner and Cecil, they have the split. And I imagine they would both have probably not have been super easy to work with. You know what I mean? So it's like you can see a split like that. But then I laugh about myself because I'm like, I can't imagine that I'm easy to work with. You know? Let's see here.
We have some hysterical letters from Cecil writing to other people about Gerald.
Yes.
They're so, you know, Witchcraft has been going on a long time, is all I can say. They're very funny.
We actually have some of those letters from Cecil to Ray. And I haven't seen them, but Tony's told me about them, and they sound pretty intense. So it's yeah, Tony, I gotta check those out soon. So Rick says, how does Simon feel about all the ghost hunting shows on the TV?
I rarely ever watch TV, to be honest. I've not seen any.
I watched one once and I was just like, okay.
I mean, I think they should be left alone, quite frankly. You know, I don't like my ghosts being interfered with.
I kind of have to agree. It's like, I don't know. If I was walking around in chains, moaning someplace in some dungeon, I wouldn't want somebody bothering me, you know? And I like the smell of sage, so it wouldn't bother me whatsoever. Yeah. So I have kind of a serious question for you, Simon, and that is, I don't want to spring anything on you, but why are witch museums important? I have my own answers, but I'm really interested in yours. It's, what do you feel like the important mission of doing this is?
Well, it's dealing with counterculture, really. And whilst this museum deals with social history, it's also dealing with persecution. It's dealing with scapegoating. It's dealing with all those sorts of issues that are at the forefront of what's happening at the moment. So looking at the history of witchcraft and taking all that on board is a really important lesson. We get lots of school kids coming around who are doing work on scapegoating and persecution. And they often start by looking at the witchcraft trials. So even from that point of view, it's really important. But for this museum, in a way, it's the repository of so much occult knowledge and so much occult history. And it's like what you guys are doing, what we're doing, it needs to be sort of treasured and nurtured and cherished because no one else is going to do it.
No, I think you're absolutely spot on with my beliefs with it. Yeah, you mentioned the counterculture, and I think that is, I mean, witchcraft has always been part of that. You talk about persecution, and there's somebody that I always hear with a persecution complex talking about witch hunts after them, and I'm like, I don't know, different kind of witch hunt, and just the idea that this is, I mean, I see what we do here as taking care of cultural heritage for a culture where people try to burn their heritage. So it's a yeah. So,
but also one of the things that I think is important is that you're giving people a window onto other ways of viewing the world.
yes.
If you acknowledge that there's a magical realm to existence, then it can be wonderful. It can open up all sorts of things in the mind that can take you in different directions creatively. Particularly, we get lots of artists and writers coming here because not only because of the library, but because of what the objects represent.
Yeah.
It's different ways of seeing the world, and that's important.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that as well. It's when you let's face it, like occultism is a language of symbol that goes back to the Stone Age, and it's when you're tapping into like these symbols, you're tapping into something that's like transcends thousands of years and like the Jungian collective unconsciousness that and yeah. So speaking of this sort of thing, Lisa Jane says, hi. Thanks for being here. Can you all speak about the notion of apocalypse in witch communities, particularly in relation to what's going on globally now? Any reading recommendations related to this topic?
The apocalypse. I don't feel apocalyptic. It feels more like a really. It should be used in a positive way. What's happening now for positive change. I don't see it as an apocalyptic period at all. It may be for certain governments and certain regimes, but there's so much positive that could come out of it. I can't think of any apocalyptic reading particularly. I'm too optimistic, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I have to agree that I'm kind of on the same boat there with you. So I'm going to share the screen here. And I want to here we go. I gotta say that I am an avid follower of your Instagram, and it's certainly beautiful. And I love this right here. Can you talk a little bit about this symbol?
So the museum sigil was. It came about from walking in the environment at the time when the lockdown had just started. Because we're in a very remote place, I have the luxury to be able to actually walk for quite some way without seeing a single soul. And I kept thinking about how we should be working on a practical level, but also on a magical level to help the museum. And I've often worked with sigils and found them really effective. And so I came back and then started sketching and writing out intentions to do with protection and nurturing and longevity and all of those things, and developed this sigil. And we put it onto Instagram, and it was really, really encouraging, the amount of people who then reinterpreted or redrew it and then posted it back. And you got this real sense that there was this sort of global community working together towards something, which was great for all of us here. It really, really helped on many different levels.
Yeah, I think it's extraordinarily beautiful. So I'm glad that you found magic through it. And I also have to show this right here. So you guys got your complete set of the Fiddler's Green zine, and so did we. I am so excited. I am such a huge fan of the work that they're doing over there. So
yeah, Clint's great. I mean, it's so exquisitely printed in the box. Yeah, it's a labor of love.
It not only is it a labor of love, but it's a labor of love with somebody with such an extraordinary talent that he manifested in such a beautiful way. And I don't know. Whenever I hear rumors of a new one coming out soon, it's just, I get charged. I get so excited.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to share with the viewers here, Simon?
Just give me because I've looked online at what you have, but what would be your favorite object that you have?
My favorite piece, I would definitely say, would be Lady Rowan's crescent moon headdress.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is just the lunar shape. The crescent moon radiates really the Gnostic energy of this collection. And having, first Wiccan high priestess in the United States, I feel like that is the key piece. And without that, the collection's kind of over with. Next to it is Ray's horned helmet. And there's a really cute story about how Ray made it. He woke up one day, Halloween's coming up, I'm going to need a horned helmet. And he goes and he fashions it. And to me, I think really the most important thing that I can express to witches when they come in here is witchcraft is really, really a religion of doing it yourself. The handmade nature of the things that we have here. And it's if you don't do it yourself, at least figure out a way to customize it, make it yours. We have Ray's Affame, which is a World War II commando knife, but he engraved his magical name onto it, and it becomes his ritual dagger. And those are my favorites. We do have a broom from Gardner that came from the Ripley's Height, and we have that on display. And that I really love because growing up in America, of course, I was always obsessed with Ripley's Believe It or Not, and Guinness Book of World Records, and all that kind of stuff growing up as a child. So having some stuff of that kind of line here, I get a real kick out of that. Other things I really love is I love anything that has to do with any other witchcraft museum. So the pieces, I have a huge collection of postcards from your museum as well as the Ripley's museums, and love those. Over on Zell, he recently had donated his Brendam, his magical staff. And that is my favorite of the new pieces because I look at that and I just see I see it as an incredible piece of American folk art. So, there's a lot of stuff. Ray's ritual robe, I see that. And it's the purple one that he would wear in the late 70s, early 80s, and it looks so regal. So, But I also love all the little things that I never really noticed before. Like talismans and the pendants that were in a box, and we always try to figure out where they came from. We have a Baphomet necklace that Ray told Tony came from Leo Mortello, and just having something of Leo's here, I get goosebumps thinking about it. So, I mean, I love all of it. I can't look at a piece without just getting almost ecstatic that I get to spend time with it. I imagine you can't walk down the hallways there in Boscastle without just getting goosebumps. I mean, every little thing has a story,
It's funny how you build up a relationship with a collection. It's kind of, they become you get really, not protective in that you don't want to share them with people, but that nurturing kind of feeling of wanting to look after them, make sure they're clean, they're not dusty, that they're happy. they're talking to each other. Everyone's getting on.
Yeah.
You know, it's like magical brood that you're looking after.
I completely agree. And, we've had to move things because the vibrations are just too much with each other. So, let's separate these. We do have some Crowley pieces, and they're next to our demon in the box, and they seem to get along very well. Our mandrake root I love so much. It's an antique mandrake root, very similar to the ones that you have, just like that girth, that size to them. Carved as a fertility totem. And I always love, like, young ladies go by them, and they're like, oh, keep it away from me.
Do you get people offering to cleanse things for you? Because we're always getting that. And it's like, why would you want to kind of neuter a magical object?
That's I always think that's a weird question, because I'm like, I'm at home here with the spirits, And not all our spirits are super nice and friendly, but they're definitely here. And this is their home. So why would you want to
neutralize them? It's not. The reason they're here is because they're magical. You don't want them to be sort of denuded of all that stuff.
Yeah. No, that's exactly how I feel about it. It's just like, maybe if it was going into the Cleveland Museum of Art, they could do that. They can make everything humdrum and boring for the rest of society. But here we keep the witchiness. We got to keep the power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything new coming up? Anything? Are you going to be transferring any of your stuff online, or are you just keep it?
We keep. Because people are asking if we're going to do a kind of virtual tour or something like that. We would probably do it at the temporary exhibition space we have, because we've done this exhibition this year on Cornish folklore and witchcraft. Yeah. Which no one gets it. We'll keep it because it will go on next year, of course. But we were trying to work out a way of doing. We're not very technical.
Yeah.
The thing can be a bit hit and miss.
I can understand that.
I've been working that out, but we're working on an idea for a CD. We're doing a kind of. We've got a whole ranch of things that we're working on. That I don't want to sort of hex them by talking about them. So But there's a whole ranch of things we're working on currently, and there's an idea that we're just awaiting confirmation for it, but we're going to have an exhibition in London next autumn.
Okay.
In touch wood, it all goes through, and that will be quite a big deal for us, because it's looking at it's called Witchcraft in Suburbia, and it's kind of looking at all those key figures from the mid-century, from the 40s, 50s onwards, so Gardner, Dorian Valiente, and the whole crew. And often also because I think a lot of the young occultists and witches that I meet and talk to, so many of them don't know their history.
Yeah.
They've never heard of Dorian Valiente. And I'm like, what? How can you not know these people? Yeah. So it's kind of a bit of an educational exhibition to say you really should know about these. They're the founding fathers, as it were, mothers of the craft. So it will look at them, but it will also look at that fabulous kind of dichotomy of the magical and the mundane, the rolling up the carpet in the suburban living room and performing a magical rite. It's that clash of things, because so often when practice or witchcraft is represented, it all looks fabulous and it's art directed to hell, and because it wasn't like that. People were just practicing in domestic interiors, and I love that kind of crash of cultures, the magical and the mundane. So
I think this show sounds amazing. I can't wait to see it. Okay, Tony's listening here, and she did have a question, but I want to mention this first. Ray told us this wild story once about how they're performing, the ritual there. It's full moon, and the boiler in his basement explodes, and there's a small fire. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's like 13 sky-clad people outside with some blankets over them as the fire department comes to the house with the hearse in the driveway. And I laughed so hard. Tony, do we have this? Do we have a recording of Ray talking about this anywhere? Because, witchcraft in suburbia.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find these photos. We have some really cool ones of coven meetings in furnished Long Island basements. Definitely with the vibe that you're saying. So Tony is saying, Simon, do you work at all with the Doreen Valiente Foundation?
We don't actually. We had a piece of Doreen's on loan last year, which isn't officially part of the collection. It's owned by Ray and Linda Linfield, and she's like Persephone. She's going to come to us during the summer months, and then she'll return to Ray and Linda's collection during the winter months. But we haven't done anything with the foundation, no.
I hope you guys do. It seems like Doreen Valiente is like I can't even express how wonderful she seems like she was. There's this great story that Janet Farrar tells about when Ray tried to go see her and she was busy watching soccer, and she's like, Ray, you're great. I love you, but go away. I'm watching football. Come back later. Well, I have to go. He's got flowers. And I think that's awesome. Strong lady. Do you think having something like having a demon in a box distracts from the other pieces? I don't. I think it's the chiller. I think he's having fun. I imagine that the inside of our demon in the box looks like some kind of space age bachelor pad, but kind of infernal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty cool chair you're sitting in there, Simon. What's the deal with that?
It was part of the museum on the Isle of Man, and Cecil brought it back with him. And it was old Horny used to be sat in it for many, many years, and now he's standing. I quite like it as my throne.
You look very regal, almost as if you are Simon, King of the Witches. Which I'm sure a lot of people would probably give you flack for calling yourself that. So
I've never called myself that.
Yeah. I won't start a trend here. We'll try to keep it chill. So I've had so much fun talking to you, Simon. I'm going to. It's
I'll do the same.
Yeah, please do. It's I kind of consider us your Dorothy American cousins, and you guys are like it's really such an important place to go. Oh, so Tony is following up about my mention there. We do. The fire brigade came in tuxedos from a dinner, and they said, well, if you're going to put out a fire at a witch's house, you need to come dressed for it. That is awesome. Thanks, Tony. All right. Well, hopefully next year we get to all hang out. You don't have to let me sit in the chair. And,
Absolutely.
We'll bring something great for you. And I'm going to say goodbye to the crew here watching, but please stick around for just a moment so I could formally say
thank you. Thanks very much.
Oh, it's been an honor. For real. So let's see here. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and watching us speak with Simon from the Museum of Witchcraft in Boscastle, England. They're closed for the year, most likely. So anything that you can do, I know that they have a online website with a gift shop. Maybe order something from them. They're going to have a really cool zine coming out very soon. So make sure you check that out. It looks awesome. I'm going to order some copies for our archives, and I'll probably have a couple to sell here in our gift shop. But yeah, I am so excited to reopen on Wednesday. Remember, bucklandmuseum.org, and you can get your tickets online there. I'm not going to be handling ticket sales here, appointment only. And sincerely, looking out at everyone here hanging out with us, there are just a couple words that I want to leave you with, and those are stay witchy, my friends. All right, take care. See you next time.